Assalamualaikum and good day to our lecturer and my fellow classmates. Today my friends and I will be presenting about demolition work. Before that, my name is Zulia Afikah and my friends are Fariha and Husna Athirah. First of all, what is demolition? Demolition is a process of dismantling, razing, destroying or wrecking of any building or structure or any part thereof.
Hi, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. My name is Husna Athirah binti Roslan. I will continue our presentation by explaining in detail on steps to be done before start demolishing a building or a structure. The first step need to be done is surveying. A preliminary survey should be done before conducting the demolition work. The survey should cover the construction material used, and the existing use of the building to be demolished. Adjoining pedestrian and vehicle traffic at the site also need to be monitored to avoid distraction during the work. And lastly, this survey also cover on the sensitivity of the neighborhood or surrounding area to minimize the complaint received during work. The next step is removal of hazardous materials such as asbestos, soil contamination material, or any chemical hazard. Although asbestos is already banned in Malaysia, all buildings in Malaysia commonly use asbestos as their construction material. If these materials are discovered, this material need to be removed and disposed as a chemical waste to protect workers from hazard during the demolition work. After remove the hazardous material, the next step is preparation of plan. There are many plans need to be prepared to start a demolition. The example of plan needed is a plan showing the location of the building to be demolished, a layout plan of all floor in the building, a plan showing the procedure of demolition work, and more. And the last step is safety measure. This step is important as the work are involving public people and workers. Safety measure cover the training and communication among the construction workers. Equipment and material are tested before using it, and electrical safety and fire. For detailed information regarding the safety measure, Fariha will explain in detail in the next slide.
So this is the demolition plan either before the demolition work starts or throughout the project. Demolition plan should include a set of drawings showing of the building location, existing structure, and so on, proposed demolition method, project details, proposed shoring either to existing building or adjacent building. Throughout the project, site supervision, monitoring, and inspection should be carried out too. Next, we move to the demolition method. There are many demolition methods that can be applied, but here we only highlighted about 5 types of the method. Demolition method is depending on the area of the project, time available, and the purpose of the demolition. The first method is manual or human operational method. This method is suitable for smaller or congested area. This method is carried out top-down, which means from the roof to the ground. It may be vary depending on the condition of the site, structural elements, and tools or equipments that are used. In this method, tools or equipment that are used such as jackhammer and sledgehammer. The second one is demolition by machine. The sequence of demolition work is as same as manual method, but this method is done by mechanical plant. The work begins with lifting the mechanical plant to the top floor. Adequate propping shall be installed at the floor level below as a support. However, the movement of mechanical plant shall be within the prop area, and then the machine shall descend down to the next floor by means of a ramp. This is the sequence of demolition work by machine. The work starts with demolish slab and beams until finish. The machine will descend down to the next floor by means of a ramp to demolish other parts of structure. The third one is demolition by wrecking ball. This method is suitable for dilapidated buildings. It consists of a crane equipped with steel ball which can be weighed up to 13,500 pounds and requires high-strength wire. A clear space shall be half of height of the building. For this method, a crane operator will either drop or swing the ball to the structure of the building. An experienced crane operator is required in order to avoid the ball miss the structure or hit something else. This method generates a lot of dust and can be very noisy. Next is demolish by hydraulic concrete crusher. Hydraulic concrete crusher can be operated from the ground outside of the building. This method also shall have minimum clear space, which is half of the building height. The structure shall be demolished with the top-down sequence. This method can reduce noise nuisance. The last method is implosion method. Before carrying out the demolition work, contractor should carry out a comprehensive risk and environmental assessment on the effect of the implosion to the neighborhood. This method is the flashiest way to get rid of the building structure. In brief, this method is usually done in urban areas or large structure. Time delay design is important to allow the building collapse under control. There are two types of collapse, which are falling like a tree and falling on its own footprint. How is it work? By placing explosive to knock out the building structures, and then it will collapse itself. In this method, blasters are needed. What is a blaster and what does a blaster do? Blaster is an explosive worker. A blaster is assessing the needs of demolition project to determine how much to be removed or destroyed. Other than that, a blaster drill holes in rock or structural supports, pack the holes with explosive, and oversee the detonation. A blaster also monitors safety of everyone on site during the blasting procedure.
Let us continue with the benefit gains from demolition work. The first one is occupant safety. If a building is old and become a threat to the public, by demolishing the building, it will increase the protection for the occupant and property value of the building itself. After all, no one wants to live in the dangerous building or live next door to a building that seems like dangerous to look at. Okay, the next one is improve property value. The property value can be improved by demolishing the current building and start making new project on the same site. It is proof that demolition work is one of the most effective way to increase the property value. As for example, a residential building constructed in 2001 and currently on vacant due to the old design of the building or lack of safety precaution, since it is built almost 20 years ago. By demolishing the building, and construct the new project with modern design and high safety, it will improve the value of the building and will attract the customer or client to buy the property. The third benefit is a new development. As mentioned in previous benefit, after demolishing a building, a new development can be created. If the land is in a strategic place and can be used in beneficial ways, dismantling the current building would be clear the way for it. Maybe the current building on the land didn't get much attention or attraction from the client or public, or already vacant in a long time. A new development is a good way to overcome the issue. Okay, last but not least is demolition work can be environmental friendly. Some material from demolition work can be recycled for the next construction work or next project as long as they are in a good condition. There are many materials that can be recycled from the demolition, such as concrete, bricks, aggregate, metal, woods, and glasses. Recycling the materials from the demolition work not only will save the environment, but also can reduce the costs for the new project or new development in the future. Some challenges can be occur during or before the demolition work. The first challenge in demolition work is heritage conservation law. Heritage conservation law covered a certain building of historical or cultural to protect the building. In some situations, the building to be demolished itself was not one of any cultural significance, but it is built in a conservation area. This means this building is still covered by national heritage. If the building is covered by national heritage, it does not mean demolition work are impossible to be done. To perform a demolition work on a certain building, a special permission from national heritage are required, which make the project will be delayed than the estimated time. And any demolition in the area should be very alert and proceed with care, since it is a conservation area that are protected by national heritage. The second challenge in demolition work is a place where noise is a problem. Noise can be disturbing for the area surrounding any demolition work, but there are some instances where the loud work can be particularly problematic. Some places such as hospital, school, shopping center, and residential area are where the noise from the demolition work can be a distraction. One of most common example is when a demolition work need to be done near a hospital. Not only the sound is loud enough to disturb the patients, but the equipment's vibration from demolition work may also interfere with the electronic equipment in the hospital. It is important to make arrangement before starting a demolition work to minimize the risk and the stress. Okay, the next challenge is hazardous chemical. Demolition work may involve workplaces or structures that contain or have contained hazardous materials, including chemical. Hazardous chemical material includes leads, asbestos dust, soil contamination dust, and combustible material that can risk workers and the public health. Any material that has asbestos or soil contamination generates dust if it is handled or removed before the demolition. Some material can contain this hazardous substance include the insulation material, the fire-resistant wall section, and flooring. By inhaling this dust, it can lead to respiratory issues for humans. To prevent this from happening, this material should be removed by a certified worker before the demolition work starts. The last challenge that I will explain is regarding the surrounding building and structure. If the building to be demolished is attached or situated close to a neighboring properties, it takes extra planning and cooperation from public people to carry out the demolition work. It might be necessary to evacuate people from the area for a short time before performing the demolition work. A further challenge is large trees and the presence of structures like telegraph poles. This can cause just as many issues as building because it is not always possible to remove them. They will stay at their place, and this issue will be a problem to conduct demolition work and might cause delay to the project.
Assalamualaikum and good day. My name is Fariha binti Athirah, and today I'll be presenting regarding the safety measure requirements of demolition work. Before I start, why is safety requirement is important? It is requirements that is very much needed in every high-risk work such as demolition work for internal monitoring. It is the first step to take to ensure that people who involved in the commencement of work are safe from any risks or hazards while carrying out the respective work. Under the safety measure to taken at any construction site before commencement of the work, these are the aspects that should be taken into account such as safety requirements, environmental requirements, and quality assurance. Let's move on to the next slide to know more about these aspects. The first aspect is the safety requirements. Safety requirement is important in making sure all the works to be carried out on site is at the lowest or minimal risk against the people who involved on site. The second aspect is the environmental requirement, a requirement that is mostly related to the environmental safety. This aspect is to focus on looking after the safety, health, and environment while commencing the work on site. And lastly, the quality assurance. Quality assurance or QA is the kind of aspect that making sure the work is done at the right place and on the right time efficiently before deciding to commence the work on site. Let's go deeper into these aspects. The first one is the safety requirement. This safety requirement consists of risk assessment. In risk assessment, according to the Occupational Safety and Health Act, OSHA, is first to identify the hazards that involve with the proposed work. Second, to consider who might be harmed. Third is to evaluate risks and identify precautions. Fourth, to record the findings and implement control measures for the residual safety. And lastly, to review and update if necessary. On our case study, it involving a schedule of tasks and expected consequences and who might be raised to it. This will be the guidance and precaution step to the people involved with a mitigation measure and who will need to take the responsibility. Next, under the safety measure requirements also, is the information to personnel. This is to ensure the risk of exposure towards the people involved with the work is minimized. All personnel should wear the PPE such as safety helmets, suitable basic protective equipments, and additional PPE whenever it is required, and safety briefing will be conducted every morning before commencing the work on site. Next is the permit requirement. Permit to work is needed and must be implemented to ensure that The personnel who is involved in the project are aware of the hazard and the nature of work they will be carried out, and the client needs to provide a well-managed, safe and restricted working area. And lastly, the emergency procedure. Before entering the confined space, it is a must to have an emergency procedure such as first aid kit, measure for raising the alarm and rescue, measure for safeguarding and rescuers, fire safety measures and control of plant. Next is the environmental requirement. These aspects were focusing on potential significant environmental impacts and their proposed control measures, potential emergencies and responsible parties in charge, such as scheduled waste management. Any scheduled waste management generated at site shall be stored and disposed according to the EQ Schedule of Waste Regulations 2005. Next is to provide oil and chemical storage management at site. And lastly, quality assurance. Quality assurance or QA is important to ensure the work is done at the right time and at the right place before it is officially commenced the work on site. From the point of view of our case study, it has the contractual requirement, which is the project quality plan, and the follow-up and evaluation to ensure all the tests is completed and evaluated before it is being commencement. These are the examples of documentation under the safety measure requirements. The first one is the job risk assessment. The second one is the environmental operations control log, and the third one is the quality control inspection checklist.
Now, we will go through with our case study for this topic. The chosen case study for our topic is the demolition of Klang Bus Stand, Plaza Warisan and Pasaraya UO for MRT Pasar Seni Underground Station. The company in charge for this demolition project is Multi Demolition, and the timeline of this project is 12 months. The demolition sequence used is top-down sequence. The demolition work is carried out only one story at a time. It involves hoarding being erected around the building, and the machinery has been hoisted to the working level.
Next, we go to the safety requirement at the case study. These are the example of safety measures taken at the case study. First, set up the hoarding with covered pedestrian walk. This goes under the safety requirement which isolate the public from the construction site. Next is the removal of combustible material and erection of safety netting. This goes under the environmental requirement whereby it prevents the residue such as dust or any material which may be harmed from the public or people involved. And lastly, the comprehensive traffic management due to the area is in a congested or high traffic area. This goes under the quality assurance where the planning needs to be made accordingly at the right time and at the right place.